Welcome, everyone, to Pablo's Parler. Hello, faithful listeners. I'm Pablo Ramirez, your awesome and slightly deranged host of Pablo's Parler, here with a very special edition of The Parler. You see, with me, I have my very close friend and also multimedia co-editor from The Black and White, Katie Guarino.
Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to be here with Pablo today.
Okay, and what we're going to talk about today is something that it's an issue that Katie raised a few days ago, and that's the fact that this year's freshmen don't really have any memories of 9/11. So, Katie, why don't you tell us why that worries you a little bit?
Well, the thing that scares me the most is that I was born in 1995, and 9/11, obviously, as we know, happened in 2001. So I'm a high school senior right now, and that means that by the time I'm in college and by the time I'm 2 years out of college, none of the kids in high school will have been born before 2001. So 9/11 will become basically just something that's written in the history books. It won't become something that's as much of an experience in people's minds. And I mean, maybe for me it's different because 9/11 touched me in a personal sense because I have family in New York and I know a lot of people there. But it scares me when people say they don't remember what happened on 9/11. It scares me that 9/11 will become just something people read about, something people will read about the consequences of, and not something that will kind of have a personal place in people's hearts. And so that's one of the things that kind of just makes me feel a little taken aback when I hear and think about how people are remembering 9/11. There's been a lot of controversy today about how the Today Show and the host of the Today Show didn't really acknowledge the 9/11 moment of silence, and instead they kept going with an interview they were doing with Kris Jenner about her breast implants.
Yep.
Which, to me, I was a little bit shocked because regardless of what the staff of the Today Show or of any other news show does in general to talk about 9/11, just to not acknowledge the moment of silence and also to continue on with an interview of a topic that is kind of trivial and so pop culture to me, it seemed very kind of appeal to the lowest common denominator, and it seemed kind of unfair to the people that lost their lives and to the people who were personally touched, to the people that knew people that lost their lives, or to just people who felt in some way affected. And I'm not saying that we at all have to dwell on the tragedy. I think it is a tragedy, and I think that the world has evolved a lot since 9/11. Obviously, we've killed Osama bin Laden, and that's a huge, huge accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some acknowledgement, however minimal, should be paid to make sure that people remember that 9/11 isn't just an event in the history books. It's something that really, really touched people's hearts. People talk about our parents' generation.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents' generation often talks about where they were when Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a big event for them that defined their time.
Like our equivalent, right?
Right. And that's what a lot of people have been saying. So, yes, our generation thinks of the Kennedy assassination as something in the history books, and I understand that obviously that's bound to happen with any historical event that will happen. It will become something that's more concrete, something that's written on a piece of paper.
Right.
But we haven't reached that point yet. We still have so many people in this country that have such vivid memories, and those memories deserve to be honored.
That's true. I'll give you a funny example. I was reading an article about the new memorial and all that they're setting up, and I thought to myself, wow, years ago, when I saw the site for the first time, it was just a giant hole, giant crater in the earth. And now for people who are starting to grow up, they're just going to see it as a memorial. They're never going to think of the giant towers that were there, or the smoke coming out and the TVs turned on and showing all that, or even the giant hole and people working there. They're just going to see the memorial, the two big reflecting pools. It's kind of scary, right?
Right, it is. It's terrifying. And I think the memorial is gorgeous, and it's a great way to pay respects to the people that lost their lives, especially in the World Trade Centers. But, there are also a number of people that lost their lives when planes flew into the Pentagon, and obviously the field in Pennsylvania. And I think that the Pentagon, I know, has a memorial set up. And I know that on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, a bunch of people went out to that field in Pennsylvania where the plane crashed, and they kind of had a ceremony to commemorate those people that lost their lives. So I think that those locations will forever be places of importance. But it's crazy to me that people won't remember what those towers look like. I mean, I was
Yeah.
little. I don't remember that much
Right.
about the
But it's still
what
present
they
in
look
your
like.
memory.
Right, it is present in my memory. And one of the things also that I was thinking about is now we walk through airport security and we're used to the pat downs or the metal detectors and not being able to walk people to the gate. But even when I was born, probably my first flight on an airplane, I didn't have to do all that.
Exactly.
And
it transformed the world,
Right.
basically.
It really did. And people
But we
that
know
are
why. They will just
they'll
be born into this world.
Right. Kids that are little now, kids that are in elementary school, even middle school, and even Whitman's freshmen won't know what it's like not to live in a world where you don't walk through metal detectors.
That's true.
And I feel like I'm aging myself by saying all this. I feel kind of old. And I think that's one of the things that scares me the most is I woke up on 9/11 and I was 7.
7, yeah.
And that's, or 6 rather.
Right.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't seem like 9/11 happened that long ago.
That's true. Well,
It's such a fresh memory in my mind, and I really think we should do our best to make sure the memory remains at least fresh in everyone else's, not only as something sad, but just as something that was
to remember.
revolutionary.
Yeah, well,
in a sense.
I mean, you bring up very good points, and it's definitely one of those events that will stick in our memory forever. If you guys want to discuss this topic a little bit more, you can log on to Facebook, Twitter, you can go on the Black and White website, or you can even comment here on YouTube and tell us how this event maybe shaped you, how it might shape you, how you've seen that it's changed things, and how we can better remember it. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to this very special episode of Pablo's Parlor. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Katie, for joining us today.
And thank you so much for having me, Pablo.
And until next time, adieu.